Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Sultanate's atmosphere continues to be affected by a trough of low-pressure system on a number of wilayas. The International Conference of Oman Air discusses in Muscat the future vision of the national carrier. And after financing more than 200 projects in the Governorate of North Al-Batin, a Rafd Fund launches its second funding package. Good evening once again, live from the news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. Here we bring you first local news, followed by latest world news. A number of wilayas of the Sultanate witnessed light to moderate rain early morning today. In Governorate of Dakhiliya, rains fell in the Wilaya of Nizwa, Niabat Barkat al-Muz, Niabat Jabal al-Akhdar and Wilayat of Al-Hamra, mostly on hills and mountainous areas, and caused a direct drop of temperature as it reached almost 6 Celsius in Niabat Jabal al-Akhdar. Clouds which forecast rainfall are still accumulating on skies of the governorates, especially on the mountainous during the coming hours. Reviewing horizons of bilateral cooperation in different domains and means of supporting and developing them, especially in parliamentary aspects, topped discussions in the meeting held between His Excellency Dr. Yahya bin Mahfoud al-Mandari, Chairman of the State Council, and His Excellency George Fure, Speaker of the Canadian Senate. They also reviewed the development stages of the Shura March in the Sultanate beside the Council's missions within the framework of its specializations and authority. Discussing cordial relations between the Sultanate and Canada, ways of enhancing them for the joint interests between the two countries was the main aspects discussed in the meeting of His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, when he received in his office today His Excellency George Fure, Speaker of the Canadian Senate, and his accompanying delegation within its official visit to the Sultanate. The Omani-Canadian bilateral relations and the extent of joint coordination and cooperations were the core of discussions between His Excellency Khalid bin Hilal al-Ma'wali, Chairman of the Shura Council, and His Excellency George Fure, Speaker of Canadian Senate. They further reviewed the work mechanisms of the Council's Permanent Committee as well as the system of work in the regular sessions. An agreement was signed by the Minister of Financial Affairs and Oman Governors and Sustainability Center on Corporate Governors. It aimed to prepare a convention for governors of government corporations and enable them to improve their performance. The government companies operate huge investments that affect the national economy. Thus, a unified governance system should be established for accounting these companies. The move will raise the efficiency of government companies and enhance auditing and transparency, which will increase confidence on the national economy and raising the growth rates. The system will be applied on more than 60 government companies. Around 300 specialists in the aviation sector are discussing at the International Oman Air Conference the future vision of the national carrier of the Sultanate in the new year. The conference deals with issues related to improving the financial situations of air companies inside and outside the Sultanate, increasing the number of tourists and creating new job opportunities for Omani citizens in the sector. It also discusses ways to support small and medium enterprises in the Sultanate, shedding light on an ambitious expansion plans of Oman Air in terms of network, fleet and continuous development in 2017. Despite reduction in government financial assistance to Oman Air from 100 million Omani Rials to 20 million Rials Omani Rials in 2016. The company's contribution to gross domestic products rose by 6% in the same year as to reach 415 million Rials. It is expected that this contribution will increase to around 900 million Rials in 2017. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and still to come in our news bulletin. Scientific College of Design celebrates the graduation of its 9th batch. Back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Shura Council office reviewed during its meeting today letters of a number of citizens regarding telecommunication services and traffic rates of telecommunications companies in the Sultanate. The office permitted questions directed to the ministries or to the Minister of Health on the mechanism of recruiting doctors of excellence and graduates of 2016. It also studied the reply of Public Authority for Mining on reasons granting practicing permits to a number of corporate despite the previous cases of licenses or seizures of licenses. Another query directed to Muscat municipality was forwarded to the office on organizing buildings in Governorate of Muscat and the reasons behind the non-application of the decisions to disallow setting up accommodations or buildings for laborers and single individuals at residential and commercial areas. The office further discussed the reply of the Supreme Council for Planning concerning enterprises of upgrading tourist services in the Governorate of Dhofar. The meeting was presided over by His Excellency Khalid bin Hilal al-Ma'uli, Chairman of the Shura Council. Diving Unit of Royal Navy of Oman is one of the important divisions that undertakes several missions on the military, security and civil levels. In addition to its regular mission, the unit also carries out many humanitarian tasks such as search and rescue operations in cooperation with the concerned bodies. It also has another developmental task such as diffusing sea mines and contributing to the sustainability of Omani beaches and coral reefs. It also provides assistance to other governments such as the Ministry of Environment and Climate Affairs in assessment of sea pollution. The diving unit is provided with modern equipment and tools to undertake its national task in the best way. Rear Admiral Abdullah bin Khamis al-Raisi, commander of the Royal Navy of Oman, received in his office today Major General George Smith, Director of Manpower Plans and Policies Division of the U.S. Central Command, and his accompanying delegation currently visiting the Sultanate. The two sides exchanged several matters of common concern. Major General George Smith, Director of Manpower Plans and Policies Division at the U.S. Central Command, and his delegation paid a visit to Sultan's Armed Forces Museum, where they were acquainted with ancient manuscripts and historical miniatures portraying architectural art. They were also briefed about the progress witnessed by the Sultan's Armed Forces under the prosperous reign of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos. At the end of the visit, the guest expressed his admiration of the ancient military heritage in the VIP register. The College of Banking and Financial Studies celebrated graduation of 41 male and female students from diploma to bachelor and master's degrees. The academic programs provided by the college enable students from gaining more than one educational qualification at the same time through providing various choices in the levels of the studies by cooperation with a number of international universities. Her Excellency Dr. Muna bin Salim Al-Jardaniya and the Secretary of the Ministry of Manpower for Technological Education and Vocational Training presided over the graduation ceremony. And Scientific College of Design celebrated the graduation of 292 male and female graduates of the 9th batch of diploma and bachelor degree holders from various specializations. After acquiring their knowledge and skills, the fresh graduates are considered a new addition to the labor market. The graduation ceremony included graduate speeches who expressed their happiness for graduation after hard work and efforts they exerted during the years of study. At the end, the chief guest presented certificates to the graduates. The RAFT Fund released a second funding package comprising a number of financing programs meant to contribute in supplying the economy during the upcoming period. The fund has financed in the first package more than 200 projects in the governorate of North Al Batina, with a cost estimated at around 6 million Omani Riyals. Programs of the second funding package aimed at expanding the domain of the beneficiaries, such as programs of financing students' companies and registering patients, which comes in a bid to encourage scientific research and innovations. The second package also allocated a comprehensive program for rural women enterprises and quality ventures of added value, which could provide job opportunities to citizens. In France, it slipped into legend after delighting long-haired teenagers in the 70s and 80s. But in Morocco, the tireless moped sparked off despite an invention of cheaper Chinese scooters. Here is a report.
This used motorcycle market in the Moroccan capital, Rabat, looks more like an antique fair. Here you can still find the legendary Peugeot 103 that first hit the road in 1971. Drivers in Morocco need no license for the moped, which was all the rage until the early 2000s. But the vintage charm of the 103 is struggling to keep up with newer models.
Everyone wants to buy new motorbikes. If they buy a used one, they pay $200 and half that in repairs. It's better to pay $400 for a new one because you can't find good mechanics now.
Peugeot stopped producing 103s in Morocco in 2014. The only ones left are old models or cheap Turkish-made copies. Today, Rabat's motor stores are filled with shops selling Chinese-made mopeds.
Nowadays, there aren't any French Peugeots left. There are only Chinese products with four-stroke engines and gears. That's what sells today. They're more modern and more solid than the new Peugeots that come from Turkey.
But longtime 103 enthusiasts have no intention of forsaking La Mob, as it's known, filling the streets of Morocco with their distinctive racket.
And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Partly cloudy skies will prevail over the governorate of Musandam and the coastal areas overlooking the Sea of Oman, with chances of scattered rainfall. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with chances of cloud accumulation on Hajr Mountains in the evening and low clouds or fog over the governorates of North and South Sharqiya and Al-Wusta early morning. Winds will be north to northeasterly light to moderate, occasionally active over the coastal areas. Seas will be moderate to rough with a maximum wave height of 2.5 meters. watching the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate's atmosphere continues to affect by a trough of low pressure system on a number of wilayas. The International Conference of Oman Air discusses in Muscat the future vision of the national carrier. And after financing more than 200 projects in the governorate of North Al-Batin, a Rapid Fund launches its second funding package. With that, we come to an end of tonight's news bulletin, brought to you live from the news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. From the entire news team here in the studio and myself, we do thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening and good night.